Anna, real pleasure to sit down and talk with you.
No, I'm so excited to chat with you today.
I'm always fascinated when Canadians come from small communities, and Iqaluit, relatively small community, and end up on the world stage. When you were a kid, did you have any idea that you'd have the life you have now?
No, I mean, even 5 years ago, I didn't think I'd have the life I have now, and every new job kind of comes as a surprise. As a kid, it doesn't feel like an option to act, especially growing up in the North. It wasn't, something that anybody was doing really, or not on this stage that I feel like I have now. So it's been really exciting, and everything feels like a new accomplishment.
Not surprisingly, you stood out at a young age. I'm sure you're too modest to point that out yourself, but we got in touch with one of your teachers, Grace May, who said that in high school she realized that you were special in so many ways. And so in the interview with her, one of the things she said is after she looked at something you had written, the voice that you had written in was really stood out to her. So then she said, I wanted her to hear the voice that she wrote with.
And experience having a microphone in front of her, a spotlight, just her, 300 people listening. And she pulled that off beautifully.
That was at a Remembrance Day ceremony. Do you remember that moment?
I do. I don't remember what I wrote, but I do remember that stage, yeah.
It's just, to me, so cool when teachers recognize kind of future, greatness in a student. And I don't know if she played a pivotal role at all in where you've ended up.
I mean, absolutely. She didn't mention that I missed so many English classes in the year following. But in grade 10, she was my drama teacher, and there was this call out for young actors for a workshop for a film called The Grizzlies.
Stop right where you are. Who's got the ball? Come on, guys, you played with them, you know which hand he favors.
She had approached me and said, Anna, I think this is something that you would really enjoy doing. And I was like, me? Not me. I was very shy, I was very quiet, and just very kept to myself. But I thought, why not throw my hat in the ring? I put my name down and I told my dad about it, that I was going to go and audition for this thing and see what happens. And then I tried to back out, and I got really scared, and I remember sitting on the edge of my bed being like, I can't do this, I can't go audition for something, that's wild. And then my dad had sent me a Facebook message that he was on his way. And I was like, there's no going back now. I'll go do it and see what happens. And, with Grace's support, I ended up leaving school for a couple months while we shot The Grizzlies. And Grizzlies kind of was in the back of my mind for a long time.
Spring, these are fantastic.
Thanks. I love The Warrior. Roger would have been totally into it too.
Is there any chance you're ready to come back to school?
So Grizzlies is the beginning of what is a really impressive resume that you have, especially for a relatively young actor. And so Three Pines, based on the Louise Penny books, and True Detective, the latest season of True Detective with Jodie Foster. Is it intimidating at all to work with somebody like Jodie Foster?
I mean, working with someone like Jodie Foster is one of those things where you never think it'll happen. And when my agent and my manager had told me, you got the role, Jodie Foster is like a part of the project, this is going to be really exciting. And I don't think my mind fully wrapped around how big of a production True Detective was going to be. And when you hear a name like Jodie Foster with the filmography that she has, and her name can create silence in a room because she's just got that star power. So you build up this idea of oh my God, I'm meeting Jodie Foster. How do I approach her? What do I say? What do I do? But she's very kind and very generous and a wonderful woman, and made everybody around her very comfortable and at ease. And it's been really nice for me so far in my career, especially jumping into another project where I was the lead, and it was CBC and APTN and Netflix, and that can feel like a lot of pressure. just taking it one step at a time and not making anything too big, and not attaching too much meaning to anything, just to get through the day. When people ask where I'm from, I say, think of the furthest place north you've ever been. Now keep going. Keep going. Yep, that's us. Ice Cove, Nunavut, the heart of the Arctic.
So now you are the lead of a show, North of North, which is shot in your hometown at Iqaluit. What's the appeal? What's the upside of being able to do that, or maybe the downside of shooting in your hometown?
I was so excited to go back to Iqaluit to film something. I moved back in with my parents, which was really exciting and fun, and I was really happy to do that. And being able to shoot something that's so community-oriented and grounded in culture, and something that I grew up with and understood so well, was so important, and it was a massive help and grounding point for me in developing Siaya and understanding her story and in understanding the story of North as a whole. And it also was just great to actually have my community around me and supporting me, and at times watching me do the embarrassing thing.
Well, yeah, so there's that, right? So there are people that you know who know you, who are now seeing you act, which is not a very natural kind of thing, and so potentially embarrassing moments?
Yeah, most days when background would come in, it was people I went to school with. It were my cousins, or it was my cousins. My brother's girlfriend has a role on the show. She plays Judy. So, Siaya goes through so many moments in this show where she's doing really public outbursts, doing really embarrassing things, driving around like a maniac, setting the dump on fire, and having to do that in front of people that I know. And I know that I'm doing a character, but they kind of just see me doing a character. That was deeply embarrassing and awkward at times. And if I'm blushing in the show, it's because I actually am blushing in real life and I am embarrassed. But I think it helped me just feel more present, which was really nice and really helpful. But it also meant that I felt the support of people, in between takes. They'd be like, oh, good job, oh, I really like that one. And it was just really validating. Hey, am I a loser?
No. Why do you ask?
I just blew up my life without any sort of plan. No job, no ride, no home.
No clue.
Lily.
No, she's right. I have no clue what to do next.
You've been studying at the University of Ottawa, international development, and so I think a lot of people in courses like that think about applying those lessons elsewhere in the world. But you see how they can apply to Canada, to the north.
Yeah, when I was picking what I wanted to study for university, international development stood out to me because I, grew up in Iqaluit and was so acutely aware of the social issues that were impacting my community, that impact my family, that impact me. And I wanted to understand how development is done in other places and what could be pulled from that to be applied to the north, because there is a similar remoteness, a similar lack of infrastructure, and a similar lack of support. So I wanted to go and learn about how to deal with things, most specifically like housing. The housing crisis in Nunavut, I think, is one of the biggest issues that we're facing in the territory today. Because how can you solve everything else when you don't have a safe home to live in, you don't have a place to go back to? How do we end these vicious cycles that cause trauma if we don't have safe homes? Doing international development has also really informed, I think, how I carry myself through creative industries, and how I use my platform now to empower community and other communities. So it all kind of weaves together in the end.
You love the north, and now you get to do a show that's north of north. What do you want Canadians, or actually people outside of Canada as well, to know about this place that you love so much?
I think when people imagine, Nunavut, the Arctic, the north, they imagine something quite like desolate and dark and empty. But we have such vibrant communities that are so full of love and joy and laughter. And even though there is a long history of colonialism and trauma, and that does impact our communities deeply, that we manage and we get through it. So I really hope people can see the North as I understand it, as someone from the North, and get a more authentic idea of how we live.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been a great conversation.